Are there any projects that you guys are working on that have to deal with propulsion?
Well, I think the positron dynamics is specifically related to propulsion, but I think there's a number of other opportunities aside from just building hardware, providing services. I'm working with a fellow, Ruben Metcalf, who's doing a program called I Dream of Space. And Ruben is a great guy. I mean, he sort of knows viral marketing. I mean, he's got great insight into how to get people engaged. And that is really kind of a lottery system where people participate and then somebody out of the pool is able to fly on the X-Core vehicle or X-Core or one of the suborbital vehicles. How that plays out is still TBD. So, and that's an interesting play, and I think it's very interesting because of Ruben's ability to engage people. He had a great video where it was promoting his I Dream of Space, and he went out and he just talked to people in New York City and said, gee, what would you like to do? I dream, do you dream of space? And he was able to pull that together as part of his marketing program. And what we really need to do in NewSpace is not just a few people that are able to participate in the industry. We need to have a very large group of people, and part of that is we're working with Bob Twiggs and the group down in Kentucky for a CubeSat workshop. And I think CubeSats here at the NewSpace conference this year, Peter Plotzer gave a great pitch for his NanoSatisfy concept. And I don't know if you guys have talked to him, but Peter is basically building a CubeSat that's going to allow a lot of different groups to use the sensors that are on that CubeSat and get direct experience in space. And that's really those are the things that we really need to be doing. We need to be connecting up with a commercial community, people that know what to do in space, the people that want to participate in space and work on lowering the barrier to entry. Ruben is doing that. He's lowering the barrier to entry so that people can participate in space. That's what also Peter Plotzer is doing. You don't have to build your CubeSat. You can use the CubeSat that's built by NanoSatisfy and do your experiment in space. Bob Twiggs and the guys at Kentucky are talking about building CubeSats, and even Peter, because of the low barrier to entry to building CubeSats, Peter can think about, I'm going to build my CubeSat, and here's how I operate it. So the business, the entrepreneurial side of this is not just doing what's been done before, but trying to think about things in a different light, trying to be creative. And that's where creativity comes from. It's hard to know. It doesn't come from established players. It comes from new entries. And so I think broadening the scope of involvement in the country, across the planet, is what's going to make NewSpace successful. And I would say Silicon Valley Space Center is like, think global, act local. We're just doing it here in Silicon Valley.
Well, that begs the question then, especially since the California Space Alliance no longer exists. Do you guys do space advocacy or any sort of lobbying at the state legislature?
Well, we have a group here in the Bay Area called the Silicon Valley Space Business Roundtable, and Silicon Valley Space Center is a member of that group. The lobbying at the state level is extremely important. What we see in NewSpace is that rather than space being a federally mandated program, it's almost pushed down to the state level so that you can have Florida have its space program, Texas has its space program, California, Illinois. And when you look at a map of the United States and you look at GDP levels, you can map global GDP levels into the U.S. so that you have countries like Israel. Israel has a team that's competing on the Google Lunar X Prize. I know there's a group down in Brazil. They're like, how can we have our space program? And it's not a national, it's not programs that are at a national level, but it's programs that are connecting people to the space effort. And that's on pretty much a worldwide scale. So you'll see individual countries in the Middle East. There's a technical university in Saudi Arabia that just signed an agreement with NanoRacks, such that their students and educators can participate in work on the International Space Station. Here in the United States, we have the CASIS program. And CASIS is geared towards taking a segment of the International Space Station and connecting educators, researchers, and entrepreneurs with activities on the ISS. So this is a trend. It's not just here in Silicon Valley, but it's a trend that's happening around the country and around the globe. So our involvement with politics, I'm not much of a political person, and I think in California there's a lot of noise. There are a lot of other people that are interested in getting the attention of the governor and the legislature in California, and somehow the space issue may get lost in the noise. You can look at a group like Kentucky Space, which is very successful in connecting not only with their state government, but also their senators and congressional representatives as to how Kentucky can be an important player in space. And these things are important. When I was in Kentucky visiting Bob Twiggs some time ago, I met a young girl who was from Eastern Kentucky. She was a high school student at the time, and with Bob's program at Morehead State University, was able to get involved in an astronomy program. And I think she was one of the youngest people I know that were able to discover a pulsar out of existing radio data. She was combing through the data, and that's her discovery. And it's changed her entire outlook on what she wants to do with her life. And yeah, not everybody can live in Silicon Valley and the Bay Area, and I think space is a way of getting people to work together and realize their love and their passion and perhaps their true goal in life, and expand beyond just what they see in kind of their day-to-day existence.